Hello, everyone, and welcome to Nothing Matters, a new project we are starting to share our thoughts with the world, whether y'all want it or not. We often have some deep and interesting conversations, and figured, why don't we record them? I'm joined today by Sal and Brennan. I have a topic for today that the boys are unaware of, and I'll be scoring them on how well they do. But again, nothing matters. So, boys, how y'all doing today? What you got going on?
Working, having a great time. Watch people get into accidents. That's fun.
Hell yeah, dude.
Watching people get into accidents. That might actually segue into our topic kind of well today, but I want to hear how Sal's doing.
I mean, I'm grooving, dude. I'm really interested in this topic now of watching people get into accidents.
Oh, I thought you were more interested. I didn't know we were getting scored, so this is news to me.
Yeah, but don't worry, nothing matters.
Oh, fair.
Yeah. I went to the movies today. I saw Until Dawn.
Oh yeah, that did come out. Yeah.
Yes, it did.
How was it?
It was not Until Dawn. It was very good. I don't want to like spoil, for the three people who listen to this podcast other than us. I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but essentially it was like, what's the name of those video games, like the something pictures or whatever?
Oh, the Dark Anthology.
Yeah. So it's more. It more should have been like titled that, because it was like they rolled because it was a PlayStation movie, like like how
Yeah.
So it was like the same thing with Uncharted, how like the movie was kind of like based on the first three games. I would say that this movie was based like in the same universe, but based in like Man of Medan, Until Dawn. And Little Hope, is that the one with the village?
Yeah, so I was going to ask, is the quality of the movie more of like Man of Medan and Little Hope, or is it more on the quality of like House of Ashes and The Evil in Me or something like that?
Yeah. What do you mean?
All I remember is
The
Jack
Devil
the
in
guy
Me.
saying
The Devil
Charlie
in Me.
on it.
Yeah, The Devil in Me. But what do you mean by quality?
Devil
like,
in Me, yeah.
Like the story?
Yeah, because like the Man of Medan, me personally, I didn't like how Man of Medan and Little Hope was just like, the evil wasn't real, right?
Yes. That's what
it's like, oh, the ship is there's a gas leak and everyone's just high. Oh, the dude's just crazy. Whereas House of Ashes is like, yeah, there's fucking demons.
So the horror is real, but it's manifestations of the patient or the subject that like Dr. Hill is observing. So Dr. Hill is in it, right? Like I always forget his name, Steve, the guy from Prison Break and the guy who they actually use his likeness for as the psychiatrist in those games.
Yeah, John Abruzzi.
Yeah, John Abruzzi. Yeah. So he like essentially they get like trapped in this town and they have to survive until dawn. But every time they don't, it like resets, which is very interesting dynamic. But essentially, no one's made it more than 13 nights, right? So they have to escape within like 13 nights, and the way they like. So the way they bring the Wendigos into it is the people who get trapped and stuck there are what become the Wendigos because of their hunger to survive, if that makes sense. So it's like you either survive the night or become part of it. But it had some funny moments because it's like they would mess up, so they would just kill themselves to restart the night.
Okay. Yeah. That's actually a little bit more.
The hourglass like imagery that it has, that played a big role in it. So you'd watch the sand running down, but every time they would die, it would reset. But they would have some memories from it, but not all.
I was going to say, so yeah, they know that, they're killing themselves to reset.
Correct. Yes, but so this is good. So with Brennan talking about watching people get in accidents, and we're talking about being stuck in a loop of like never ending, like stuck in a loop or having to kill yourself and stuff. Boys, today's topic, the afterlife. I want to hear your thoughts and theories on the afterlife. What happens after death? Whatever. You can have multiple ones if you have like anything, like based in theology or religion. I don't care. I want to hear what y'all think. Death comes for us all, but what comes after?
Well, not for me because I'm immortal. But
okay, I always forget that. Immortal.
I don't know. I've always thought like Okay, so I'm gonna steal this from like the Percy Jackson books almost, but it's like a very cool concept of when you die, you see what you believed in, like basically what you expect to see, almost like. So, for instance, like him, because he knows about Greek gods, he sees like the Greek like underworld when he like goes there.
Like the river of
Yeah, like he sees the
Styx.
river of Styx and
Yeah.
like the fields of asphodel and all that stuff. But so like, you know, he sees that, but there's like he watches like a priest come down, and because the priest was like, you know, he was I think he was like a Catholic priest,
Okay.
he's seeing like, you know, the gates of heaven and like hell and all this stuff, just because that's what he is expecting to see almost. Like basically your afterlife manifests to whatever your like your belief or your expectation is. Which I always thought was kind of like a cool concept of like, hey, you know, if you expect to just like almost like, you know, if you don't believe in an afterlife and you just expect to disappear after you die, you'll probably just, you know, disappear. But like almost like kind of, hey, if your soul wants to hang around and like chill out after you die, then it'll come up with something for you to do.
So almost like you as yourself, you can almost manifest for your afterlife.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess that also kind of relates into like almost like, you know, the traditional view of like heaven is like it, you know, it's your paradise, you know,
True.
like if you make it there. I guess it's kind of similar to that cuz like that's, you know, that's like the typical depiction of heaven is like, hey, you believe in this, you know, or like, you know, this is what you wanted, so that's what you get.
What would your heaven look like? Your paradise?
I
Well,
don't know. I mean,
I think I could describe mine. So like mine would look a lot like the state of Florida. I sue me. But it would have a lot to do with my family. It would have a lot to do with like bodies of water, like lakes and shoreline and oceans and stuff like that. And it would have a lot to do with dogs. That's what I feel like my paradise would look like.
I mean that's fair. Like I could definitely see mine like, yeah, like definitely like my family and the people I care about, I guess is a good way to put it.
Mhm.
Um, and then yeah, like, you know, you get to, I guess almost like some sort of like not like a reunion. I feel like it puts a bad like touch on it. Like almost like, hey, it's a family reunion, but like, hey, like the people who died, like, you know, like my grandpa, like,
Mhm.
you know, 7-8 years ago. It's like, hey, he's gonna be there too, just, you know, chilling out, and I get to hang out with that dude again.
Right, yeah.
You know, like, yeah, yeah, I mean, definitely like because I like to swim in the ocean, so I could definitely see that. And good, probably like food. There'd be a lot of food there.
I like that. Yeah, I should have mentioned food. There'd be a lot of garbage. There'd be a Hungries in my paradise.
I was about to say, dude, there's gonna be a McDonald's open 24/7, and it's free.
Yeah. Jesus, they're working the counter. No, that's good. Thank you for sharing that. Sal, what about you, brother? What do you think about the afterlife?
Okay. So I was raised Catholic.
Sure.
You know, went to Catholic school until like 4th grade. We went and I moved to public school because I went to Jersey, and that's where, you know, I was born, grew up. And one of the like deacons, or I can't remember, a cardinal, whatever, one of like the people higher up.
So a deacon's as low as you can be.
Got
It
it.
goes
Okay.
deacon, priest, bishop, archbishop, and then so on. So
The
probably your
Pope.
bishop.
Sal talks to the
Pope. But one of those people in power was not a good one, let's say.
Yeah.
The stereotypical bad Catholic person in power. From there, we were like already leaving the state, not from that specific instance, but you know, other factors involved. But for me going to school, we went to a different Catholic school, and that one, it felt more like they were under the ruse of Catholicism. Like they weren't acting, I guess, in a professional manner, I would say, in Indiana.
Oh yeah, I always forget that you lived in Indiana.
Yeah. So it was just like, I didn't feel like it was a Catholic school at all.
Almost just like a regular school that said they were Catholic school.
Yeah. And So then leaving that Catholic school in Indiana and then transitioning to public school, it was like, I kind of had this struggle with God.
What's the first public school you went to?
So it was Perry Hill.
Okay.
In Fort Wayne, Indiana. I had this like struggle with God, and there was a lot of other things happening at that point, because like the year before was it was 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
The year before that, my grandfather died of leukemia, which I was super close with. And that year of moving there, I was like heavily bullied. And it was, physical, mental, emotional. Like I didn't know what I wanted.
Was that the year you pushed the kid down the stairs?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh.
I was checking.
Well,
for, like,
I got
a
pushed
timeline
down the
thing.
stairs.
Do we need to go down a side tangent of pushing people downstairs? Like, what's?
I just
know
got Sal
pushed.
hurt a kid.
All right, Sal,
Well, I got
not
pushed
like
down the stairs.
Sal gets points for pushing kid downstairs.
Well, I guess you can take them away because I didn't push him down the stairs. I got pushed down the stairs.
Right.
I broke a kid's jaw.
That's
okay, Sal
what it was.
loses points for
Okay.
getting pushed down the stairs. You pussy.
At that time, I really struggled with God, and I had done my communion, but I never did my confirmation. I still haven't.
Would you
so
like to one day?
I don't know. Like my mom
Sorry,
talks to me.
I'm talking about stuff as I find it interesting. I'm sorry.
My mom just asked me to and whatnot, but for me, I've kind of established I have like my own relationship and my own belief with God, and there's a lot of time that I don't believe in people.
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, so I would say because I know you were raised Catholic, but that's almost a more Christian view of God, because like that's how I was raised, because I was raised Christian, of like, hey, that's like, basically, yeah, you go to church and you do all this stuff, but your relationship with God is like your own, and you handle it. You handle it yourself. It's as important as you make it, and it's a private thing. Like. So I guess you have more of a Christian view instead of a Catholic view. I mean, there's still same branch.
Different, but same.
Yeah, like you're on the same tree, just a different branch.
But then when it comes to like the afterlife, I've questioned a lot of it, of whether or not like reincarnation exists, because there's a lot of stories that are like wild of children remembering past lives and like specific details that this like 2-year-old boy wouldn't know anything about Pearl Harbor. And they're talking about being a pilot. Like, so there's a weird thing about reincarnation that like I almost want something to be real, but I don't know.
That's a topic that we're gonna delve deeper into later. If you have more you want to say now, feel free. But that's like because I have a few theories that I'm going to present to you guys to see how you feel, and that aspect of reincarnation is something we're going to be talking about later.
Okay. Well, but yeah, I would like the afterlife to almost be like a hub, and this is going to go back into reincarnation. But you have your like eternal soul. That is your truest self, you could say. And you can stay in that realm, heaven, whatever you want to call it. But if you wanted to, you can reincarnate into another life, into who knows, universe. Like, hey, I want to go and be in the Pokemon world, reincarnate into that.
So you think this hub is housed by like King Yema? You show up there, and then if you were a good fighter, you leave your body and go. That's good.
But when you reincarnate, you don't have your memory of your truest self.
Okay.
So then you become like almost a culmination of all of your beings.
Okay. Interesting.
Like you gain those experiences from that person in life added onto your truest self. But then it's like, okay, almost I'm going to do a new game plus.
Yeah.
I mean,
there you go.
that's actually really funny because, I was talking about the Greek thing earlier, but that's also kind of like what the Greeks believed in, is if you were a good person, like, you could make it to Elysium if you were a good person, right?
Yeah.
But you had the choice to be reincarnated if you wanted to. And if you made it 3 times, you basically, like, if you were a good person, like, so many times in a row, you got to basically go into an even better place called the Isles of the Blessed.
Okay.
But it was kind of the same thing of like, yeah, you didn't remember your old lives and like you basically got wiped. It kind of like it added on to you like as a total entity.
Hmm.
So like I don't know, it was like I was kind of listening to you talk. I'm like, that's very similar to like, the Greek thing.
Yeah.
We have not gotten to that in the Percy Jackson campaign.
Hey, stay
by
on
the way,
topic. No,
sorry.
Nothing matters.
By the
Nothing
way,
matters.
Crow
It's okay.
not making it.
Gonna say, we were talking about reincarnation.
Yeah.
There's a very funny theory because like obviously, like people have phobias. I think Sal, you and I were talking about this the other day of like, some people have like phobias of like snake. Like I'm terrified of snakes. I've never had a bad thing happen with snakes in my life. But is like, because there's like a whole thing of like, oh, is there ancestral memory or is that a reincarnation memory? Did like a past life of mine like get fucking eaten by a snake and that, or like killed by a snake and that's, why I'm terrified of them? Or is that?
Can I put a pin in that for 1 second, real quick? So,
Absolutely.
So because I want to bring up a point real quick and see if you're an enigma to this or like an outlier. So as we know, I was raised Catholic. I am confirmed in the Catholic Church. I'm actually even ordained. I've performed wedding ceremonies and stuff to that degree. I'll get into my beliefs a little bit later, but most of you guys know that I'm a very strong man of science. I believe a lot in science, right? So when we're sitting here talking about snakes and a fear of snake, do you know that children are not born with an innate fear of snakes? In fact, in a recent study done, there was a study done by both MIT and Harvard, I want to say. They would have children between the ages of like a few months to like maybe like 14 months, so like there's like young children. They would be in a room playing. There'd be stuff for them to interact with, blocks and stuff, and they would put snakes in there, and these children like could like recognize the snakes but not care at all. They did not feel threatened by them. They did not feel like fear of them or anything. So I'm curious to know if you were used in that study as a newborn, if you would have been the one outlier who was terrified of snakes because in a previous life you had a bad interaction with them.
I mean, maybe because like I said, I don't remember, like there was never like oh hey, when I was 3, like I got bit by a snake and then
You didn't
after
have
that
no
like
Indiana Jones moment.
no, exactly, like I like my entire life, like like I'd go to the zoo as a kid and you go to like the I hated the reptile house
Okay.
because it was like and it's not just snakes, like snakes are obviously the worst, but like I still don't like things with like scales, like lizards, like those are still more tolerable.
Yeah.
But like,
what about a water monitor?
Is that like when I take my piece?
Water monitors are cool. They just
I'm be honest, I don't know what a water monitor is. I think you're just going to throw my computer screen in a river. Is what I'm picturing, and that is terrifying. Please don't do that. It's it's expensive. Don't do that to me. But like like I don't know, like Sal, did you? Because like I know you're scared of mice. Did you ever have like something with like mice?
Yeah, I had.
Okay, so that makes sense then.
Yeah, for me, I had yes.
Okay.
Actually, maybe
an elephant.
Maybe maybe in Life 3. But
Life 3. Sal gets points for Life 3.
So, yeah, there was a moment where my dad's like work friend, we had gone to like this formal dinner at this guy's house, and he had a son around my age, and we were playing like Super Smash Bros. Melee, and he's like, "Hey, I have a mouse," and I'm like, "Okay."
All right, weirdo.
Right?
Yeah. He's like, "Hey, I have a mouse."
Who
He just
starts
like
a conversation like that?
exactly. It was almost like a Ron Weasley like pulling Scabbers out of his pocket scenario. And he just like throws this thing at me, and the mouse is obviously freaked out because it's like
Yes.
I'm being thrown to this like 6-year-old who is the size of a 14-year-old, and
And I've never met him before.
and so like I'm freaking out. The mouse is freaking out. I'm pretty sure I got bit. If not, then my brain says that I got bit. And it was just like a terrible fucking experience. So since then, I've just like I don't. How do I say it? I don't hate mice. Like,
You just want nothing to do with them.
yeah, like I just don't want them in my vicinity.
What about like hamsters or gerbils? Like same kind of
Those
thing,
are
like rodents?
okay,
Yeah.
actually.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
It's straight up like, what about rats? Like a rat? I mean, obviously, no one wants
A
rats
rat?
like in their house.
A rat is just a mouse that's outside.
Exactly.
I ain't never seen a rat inside before. That's because once it goes in the house, it's a mouse.
But yeah, I don't know. For me, it's something with the tail too.
Okay.
I don't
Mice
know
do
what it
have
is.
Weird tails.
I don't. Not about it.
Okay, well, I appreciate your thoughts, boys. We're gonna dive into reincarnation more, but first, I would like to. So again, being a man of science, so here's my thing. I would like to bring up to you. I would like to bring up to you the first law of thermodynamics. Okay, which is also the law of conservation of energy. Okay, so this law states that energy cannot be created or destroyed, but can only be transferred from one form to another. So this a scientific way. When you die, what happens to that energy?
I mean, that's fair. And I think, Timmy, you and I had actually talked about this like a little while ago. Like there was that study done where like when people died, they actually had them like completely encased.
Yes.
So like nothing could escape, and yet like the mass inside the box like lessened by like a small
Yes.
bit. I can't remember exactly what study. I remember hearing about
Yeah,
that.
I remember
and
you
like,
talking. I meant to. I should have looked it up to be more prepared for this. But I do remember you bringing up that study, and I appreciate you bringing it up now because that is interesting.
because I feel like it kind of goes hand in hand of like it like if you as a person are energy, and like you said like the
Right.
whole hey, energy can't be created or destroyed, just changed, like obviously you as a person like I guess it would make sense that you don't just like stop being like anything.
Mhm.
I don't know. Then like I said, there was that study about like I'd have to find it up to verify it because I might just be completely pulling something out of my ass, but I
Points for pulling
very-
out ass.
hell yeah, ass points, my favorite.
You two keep going. I gotta check on something, but I can still hear everything. So
Okay.
All right.
I'll be right
Sal is with us in spirit. His energy cannot be created or destroyed.
It cannot be destroyed from this podcast.
That's right.
But and, like it's just like I guess it goes hand in hand of like with that of like it is just like because it is a principle of science of just like hey, something can't just all of a sudden be nothing. There has to be like a change. It changes form, even if you can't see it. It's still there as a thing.
Okay.
I guess in a very broad stroke, like that was the most completely unscientific explanation, but yeah.
So how do you feel about as soon as you pass away, right? So the universe has a finite amount of energy, right? So
Mhm.
as soon as your body, your vessel is done using that energy, do you think it just transfers to another one instantly?
I guess it's a good point. Like,
Yeah.
would it just kind of like float around, like almost kind of like an ethereal being, almost of
Mhm.
like you're kind of just like existing, but you maybe no consciousness almost, or maybe there is consciousness. I mean, it's hard
Yeah,
to. I mean,
we don't know.
obviously, no one knows.
Yeah.
Yeah, like there's only one way to find out, and no one can. You can't go back and tell everyone.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I guess I feel like if you're sticking with the science route, instantaneous wouldn't make sense because obviously like things don't just appear from like point A to point B. There has to be some form of like movement or change or like
I agree.
capture of said energy.
Also, this is not me taking a political stance on anything, but the way I see it too is because like people have said like, oh, like when you die, you just are being born again. Now I understand that like, children don't necessarily have like sentience or a conscious or everything, but I would argue the fact that like a fetus has energy. Like it itself is energy. Right. And this is this is not a political stance. I don't care which way you go with, with how you feel about abortion and when life occurs. But I'm strictly saying when energy occurs, because that fetus is energy, because it's using, you know what I mean? It is using energy from, the
The mother to make something.
Exactly. Yeah. So
now, I mean, that's fair. Now, you could argue, if you're sticking on the energy point, is pregnancy just the human body capturing like the energy that's out there, like of another soul? Like, is it just the process
that's what I'm
of
trying
like
to say.
making? Okay.
Yeah.
So we're same point, different ways of explaining it. Like,
Yes.
basically,
So,
a mother getting pregnant is just like almost like casting a net out.
exactly. And then that energy comes from the void, whatever you want to say. It like that energy that dissipated from somewhere, and then it latches onto that new vessel. And then if something happens to that fetus, like, say like, is stillborn, what have you, whatever, it's just gonna move on again.
It's just
Like
going to keep
that
hanging
energy.
out until something grabs
Right.
it.
Something
I'm not necessarily
sticks.
saying it's
Interesting.
the same person. I'm just saying it's the energy, because there's a finite amount, and I don't think it necessarily has to be human. You know what I
I mean,
mean?
fair. Like, now here's the point, because energy is like, obviously we live in a universe where it's like it is there. Like, we don't know. Like, it's basically technically infinite, but there still technically is a finite amount.
Yes.
Could there potentially be like a day, like a billion years from now, where there's so many like humans or like creatures that like eventually there's like almost no soul, so you're just birthing just like basically like NPCs?
It could be.
You know what I'm
It's
Or
possible.
I think that's part of the reason why, like, so human population has increased over the years, and certain animal species have either decreased or gone extinct. And I feel like that has something to do with energy. This makes it sound really hippy dippy. Oh God. But
I
I'm
The
used
saying
to
energy,
like
be a
man.
the energy's
bison.
available. The energy's available to make more human. Wait, what'd you say?
I said I used to be a bison because we like wiped out the fucking prairie bison.
Oh,
So
I used to be a sky bison. I was cooler than you. And then
Oh, hell yeah.
yeah. But
You know they're bringing woolly mammoths back?
just because we can doesn't mean we should.
Okay,
Oh, no, I'm
Jurassic
not
Parky
saying
and
we
Malcolm.
should, but we are doing it.
Well, also there was
There's
that.
a whole series of movies about why it's not a good idea,
Yeah.
but
Well, I
you
saw
know,
like the dire wolf thing too, and when I was
yeah.
looking, they didn't actually make a dire wolf. They made something that resembles
No, they
a
just
dire
genetically
wolf.
modified a wolf to
Yes,
resemble a fantasy dire wolf.
correct. They didn't
It's
actually
just
make.
a wolf that still has pack tactics.
It's just a wolf that is in dire need of a drink.
Going on the energy thing, though,
Yes,
I
please.
mean, so it very well could be a case of the law is still true, right?
Okay.
But there's when things happen,
Things do happen.
when things do happen.
Yeah.
So
Points for things happening.
woo, so when something happens, like let's say like a tire screech, right?
Okay.
Like, you're coming to a full stop. Some of that energy is being released as heat. Some of it's being
Yes.
released as light. Some
Yes.
of it's released as sound. There's different methods of how energy is transferred.
Okay.
There could just be a form of energy that we haven't been able to
Like tap into.
or
Yeah.
measure it.
I was gonna say that's probably the more important part. Like, comes like once you know how to like, I guess, like quantify. No, that sounds. I ain't that scientific. Once you know it's there.
Once you know the thing do what it do.
Yeah,
Then it
like,
does.
Once you could like identify and quantify it.
Yeah. So I have another interesting theory. This is not my theory. This is something that was brought up to me by an individual at work. Sometimes we have slow days at work, and we like to talk as well. And so this
Fuck, I
individual
wish.
brought up to me that how like you interact with people, and sometimes like they can be 50 years old, 40 years old, whatever, right? And they just seem so stupid. Like just now stick with me on this, but they just seem dumb. You know what I mean? Like no common sense, no basic understanding of things, just like no good cognitive problem solving skills. And I'm not saying that they
Mm-hmm.
have like a deficiency or something wrong with them, but they just you're just like, how have you made it this far? How have you made it this long, right? And then you meet people who are young and are geniuses. And I don't just mean like in an academic sense, but like they know lots of things or like
Just
just seem
very
smarter beyond
wise.
their wise beyond their years, right? I always like to draw the Reed boy in Game of Thrones. Like why can't I think Holland Reed's son?
Jojen.
Jojen Reed. Yeah, they call him little grandpa
Yes.
because he's like 13 years old, but he's
Yes.
just so well versed and tuned into things and like understands things. So what my friend was saying was that the people who have like this intelligence about like general things, they have had more lives or been on more trips around this, whatever you want to call it. I would like more trips around this lifetime than those who seem less like in tune to things, like those who seem like like idiots for like blatant terms. So people who are like really like grounded and zoned in and stuff, they've had a few lives before and they draw off of that. They don't necessarily remember them, but they draw off of that. What do you guys think about that?
I mean, I guess that would make sense in a way of like, hey, if you had like, even if you don't remember them, but if you had like 40 lives to like get a sense of how the world works compared to someone who's on like round number 1 or 2,
Right.
I guess that would definitely make like, I guess if you're going with that, like reincarnation is a thing, that would definitely make like sense, like,
What
oh,
about
what
you,
a,
Sal? What do you think?
I mean, I agree with that, but also I feel like there's a factor of being observant when you're in your earliest stages,
Okay.
because there's something to be said about being a product of your environment, and you don't have to exactly take everything that you've been taught from, let's say, your parents or teachers or whatever. But there's a lot of kids who are almost in their own world, right? And then there's a lot of kids who are just paying attention and grasping at everything. So it could be that it might be like a reincarnation thing. It also could just be something of like they're viewing all these different types of people and kind of forming themselves in like a mimicry sense of like this. I saw this person have this stressful event. They might not know, they can't grasp the concept of like taxes and whatever higher, adult issues that may arise, but they can still see like stressful event and then the person remaining calm within that event. So it could shape how they act themselves. Almost
Interesting.
kind of like I've mentioned this before of our, I would say, comedy styles
Mhm.
almost, or I guess how we react based on like some of our favorite YouTubers. So Will, for example, his, you could say his delivery or his comedy style, and it could have like melded into his personality, is a little bit more loud or bombastic,
Okay.
right? And he watched a lot of Phase Jev. I never really watched Jev. The only thing that I've seen from him is this one scene in like Modern Warfare 2 where he is just the most unhinged person that I've fucking seen.
So you're saying that people are a product of their environment.
For
So
for a
you're
part, yeah.
so you're disagreeing with this theory and saying that people don't gain intelligence from previous lives but are a product of their environment.
No, I'm
I
saying that it's a factor.
I'm just trying to understand. I'm not trying to
Yeah, no,
step
no,
on
no,
your
no.
toes.
No, you're good. I got steel-toed shoes. No, I feel like there's like maybe certain aspects, like you could say the person as a baby, like the ones who are not really observing anything, those may be the ones that are on their first or second go around. I think like maybe not even certain skill sets.
Have you ever been like have you ever had a deja vu moment or have you ever like you had access to knowledge that you couldn't explain? Has that ever happened to you?
I've had a lot of deja vu moments. I've had moments where I had the entire day and like entire conversations
Just felt like a repeat almost.
Like I knew what the person was
Oh.
going to say before they said it.
But is that deja vu, or is that because I would
I don't know
consider
what that
almost like ESP.
Then I would have that.
Yeah, I feel like deja vu isn't necessarily like moment for moment things happen. You're just like, whoa, I've been here before, even though it's like your first time being somewhere.
No, I wouldn't say
Okay.
I've really had that then. I've had a lot of those ESP moments though.
Okay. And what about access to like knowledge? Like, so you just like answer something like with crazy confidence that you're like, wait, how do I know that?
I guess I don't know about like super crazy off the wall, but like there has been times like in my life where I'm just like, I just know like this fact and this fact, so obviously I just know, like, even without any sort of confirmation, that this third thing has to be true almost.
Okay, so you guys, from what I'm gathering from this, you guys are on your first time around.
I mean,
kidding.
Might be.
I guess my thing is like, because like we're talking about reincarnation, I don't necessarily think could it be possible.
I'm just saying in line with this theory, you guys would be on your first time around. I'm not saying it's the truth.
I'm on my first time around, but I also got like that guidebook that you would get as a kid for like certain like
the game
Pokemon
guidebook. Yeah.
Nintendo Power.
Yeah, I've got Nintendo Power. It doesn't happen all the time though. So like some kid like ripped my book.
Yeah, I get that. It was a gum in the pages or something. No,
Damn it, Kevin.
I've had moments where I have like answered questions like I mean like crazy things, like something like I wouldn't know. I remember I answered this question that had a lot to do with like electricity because we were talking about, I can't remember exactly. That's the other thing. Like it's like I brain dump it afterwards. Remember like we were talking about, I think we were talking about lightning and the way it dissipates or something. And I like went into this like 10-minute like almost like dissertation explaining it to these people at work. Oh, is that like, you know, like, oh, for real? And I'm like, wait, what for real? Like, what did you just say? And I'm like, what I just say? You know, and then like we look it up though, and like everything I said is like true, like 100%, like as if I had like a PhD in something, you know.
I don't think I've ever had that happen, I guess.
So
I have
first time.
I have well, maybe, but
points for first timers.
So could that also be a thing of you actually heard this information before or saw it, but you don't remember like
your subconscious picked it up, but you weren't paying attention to it.
I am open to that 100%. I used to do this a lot. I still do it sometimes. You guys know I know like a lot of like history knowledge. Like that's just, I have a lot of history knowledge, you know. And one of the reasons I think is I used to shout out to this YouTube channel. I used to fall asleep every night listening to Simple History.
Oh, okay.
And like I would not be paying attention to it, but somehow I'd like retain that information.
Because that is a thing of like your subconscious can like just grasp things.
Absolutely.
Like that's why like when people say like, oh my god, like something horrible happened, but like I had this gut feeling, so like your subconscious picked up on like a sight, a smell, a sound that you weren't actively listening to, but it gave you like it you know,
initiated a response.
Yeah, it like almost some sort of like, I guess like here's like a weird thing, like let's say you were in like a grocery store, maybe you weren't paying attention, but like 3 aisles over, you didn't even know you heard it, but someone like clicked a gun, you know, like cocked the hammer. And you get this feeling of like, I need to get out of this store right fucking now. I feel like that happens a lot more than people realize because, you know, people are just like, oh, I had this weird gut feeling.
So I could have listened to, I know Simple History doesn't have anything on lightning, but what's that other channel? Because they would always play a lot after Simple History if I had autoplay on. What? It's like the, there's infographics also, but it's the other one that's like more science-y. I'll look
Khan Academy?
No, Kazakhstan comes up.
I was about to say Kazakhstan. And then I knew it wasn't right.
Crash Course with Hank Green.
No.
I'll be through college.
Kamikaze pilots.
I mean, I'm gonna butcher how it's pronounced. Kurzgesgt. Kurzgesagt. I'm sure you've seen one of these videos before.
Kurz.
Gesagt. In a nutshell. Kurzgesagt in a nutshell. And they talk about like a lot of like science and stuff. And like theology. And they talk about everything.
I definitely recognize the art style.
Yeah,
so
I'm sure
I think we were fighting these in Call of Duty Origins Zombies.
Who's been fighting Kurzgesagt
Yep.
in a nutshell. Oh well, nothing matters.
You know what that reminds me of is like there's one channel that I like to. I guess we're just shouting out YouTube channels now. Is there's one
Link in the
I
description below.
There's gonna be 87 links by the time.
Nice.
It's called the Infographic Show.
Yeah, I just brought that up.
Oh, I guess I zoned
I
out.
said,
Hey, have
it's
you guys
not
heard of this thing called
infographic show.
Kurzgesagt?
Oh, but yeah, no, like I guess like that's kind of my one that because like they
Yeah.
do a big one on like they have a huge series on like serial killers that's very interesting. Like they go
Yeah.
through the stories of serial killers.
No, I would rope these three things together: infographic, simple history, and Kurzgesagt.
We're just gonna call it KKK.
yeah, triple K. We don't want trademark issues. We'll call it triple K. But
they might sue us for defamation.
yeah,
but...
I don't know. But yeah, that's like that's
How to
what I'm
maintain
saying.
that
Those-
image.
Those three, I do fall asleep a lot. So I subscribe to the idea that, you know, if I haven't been on multiple trips around the, I keep wanting to say sun, but that's just a year. If I keep going multiple trips around the universe, then yeah, I
multiple
subscribe to the
laps of
idea-
life.
Yeah, exactly. I subscribe to the idea that I subconsciously gather information that I can then access somehow.
Well, and here's the thing: is it could be a thing because, like, I would argue, especially since you've been in the military, that your subconscious is actually probably
Okay,
a lot
dox me,
more.
bro.
Okay, you can cut it out if you want to.
No, it's fine.
But I
Timmy's
guess
address is in the description below.
I was gonna say is your subconscious is probably a lot more active than the average person just because of that.
Yeah, I hear
So
stuff like that a lot.
So I mean, I have no theory or evidence to
Yeah.
back that up, but I guess just from a common sense standpoint, I feel like that would make sense just because, you know, you had to pay attention to things or had to key in on your on those gut feelings almost.
You have to maintain a certain level of alertness.
Yeah. So like that's a great way to put it. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah, it's
got
true.
you, homie.
And it's like I'm constantly in that state of alertness.
Yeah, so like I would say that could be a very plausible explanation just because like you probably do have a very like alert like unconscious and subconscious. So like
Yeah.
if you do hear something, it kind of sticks more than it would for someone else.
Yes, and I don't want to. I mean, I know it's not like you did this on purpose or anything, but I don't want to limit that to I would limit that to a lot to like also people who are like first responders or like
Yeah, I
people
guess
who are in the
anyone who-
medical field. You know, what I
Yeah,
mean? Like,
people.
yeah.
Yeah, I get what you're getting. Like anyone who deals with like high stress
Exactly,
situations
yes,
on
high
a
stress
very
situations, yes.
consistent basis.
Yeah, long exposure to high stress situations. I don't mean
Like, I
somebody who's
guess-
like been in one thing one time, but like yeah.
Like I guess you could even say like people who like had like really rough childhoods who were
Yeah.
like abusive, like they
Again,
could
that's
like
long exposure. Yeah, I agree
yeah,
with
and
that,
like
yeah.
and like you know they almost have to pick up on like
Mhm.
little cues of like, oh hey, is this person like angry, like is that because like they have to worry about that kind of stuff.
I completely agree with that. Yeah, I then that's not me. I just don't. I want you know.
You don't
more
want to
people
take that away from other
exactly,
people.
Exactly. That's why I don't want to do that because I have met people who have not been in the military and are still attuned that same way for again long exposure to stressful situations.
I guess I just went with the military because like I feel like that that is your case, but yeah, I could see that pertaining to just like anyone who deals with, like you said, long exposure to high stress or
Mhm.
high.
Yes. Yeah.
Like-
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I was also a first responder, but whatever. Which was close.
Okay, well now you're doxing yourself.
Yeah,
No,
see,
sorry,
now you
sorry,
get mad at me.
Point
His
taken.
address is. I'm kidding.
I said address in the description
Yeah,
below.
address in the description below. DOD ID
Um,
number, everything, whatever you guys want.
New definition for follow me. But
This is what I look like from behind. If you need to follow me.
here's a list of my fears.
These are all the
But-
blind quarters in my apartment.
You know what? Just put your address. I'll mail you my keys.
Yeah, I mean, nothing matters, so it's fine.
Oh god.
So,
But it could be
go ahead, Sal, if you're going to bring us back on topic.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I was gonna say it could be like a combination of reincarnated person kind of gravitates towards those topics.
Okay,
But it also could be have you seen Limitless?
of course. I'm glad you brought that up because I was thinking about it when I was talking about accessing your brain. So yes.
Yeah. Yeah, so it could be a thing of like you were fucking at 6 years old, 7 years old, scrolling through trying to get to Cartoon Network, and there's like little moments of different shows that would pop up. Your brain processes it at least for a moment, could store it somewhere that you just normally don't have access to.
And then someone brought up the topic and it fired that, synapse or whatever.
Yeah, it fired that response for like the culmination of over the years you maybe hearing something like when we went to like a museum and maybe in the background someone was talking about a different topic than what we were looking at. They were talking about something else. Your brain processed that information, but it just went to the subconscious, and then it just by happenstance activated, and you have that knowledge.
Yeah. So I would agree then that we can debunk that theory of time, the times around the globe.
I don't know if you could debunk it. There's just multiple explanations are possible.
Okay, at this time, I said, you cannot confirm or deny.
Who's to say?
Yes.
I'll let you know by like life 14.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because you're on 1, right? By the way you talk, you're on 1, buddy. you're a first timer for sure.
All right.
I do have another theory I'd like to talk about, and this is one that I have only come across recently, as in the past like 8 hours.
Okay.
It's called egg theory. Okay, so egg theory states that we, as individuals, we go through life living every single possible life, every single one. And so every interaction we have with another human being is actually an interaction with ourselves. So Brennan, right now you might be existing as yourself, but at some point you may exist as me, right? So this goes back to every life ever lived and every life that ever will be lived. So Alexander the Great also lived as Cleopatra. Adolf Hitler also lived as Anne Frank. Jefferson Davis also lived as Abraham Lincoln, so on and so forth, right? Every single person. And once you have achieved every single life and lived through every single life, you ascend to godhood yourself.
That sounds like a lot.
Yeah.
Also, that gets really weird. I'm just going to throw it out there. That means my mom has lived as my dad, and that...
I didn't think about that. I hate it. I hate this theory. Oh, God. I have done so many things to myself.
Timmy, there is a girl out there that you have been with, and you have lived as her, so you have plowed yourself.
Sorry, me.
Oh my God.
I feel like that theory like takes it to like a very extreme level. I don't know. I mean, I guess who's to say, but I feel like that's a lot.
I have heard of that, where that theory of you get to live as everyone, essentially God is like, I think it was like God is about to retire and you are going to become the new God.
Oh, I didn't know Morgan Freeman was retiring.
Yeah. That's why he picked Jim Carrey. Basically this theory of like God's retiring, you are going to become the new God, but you need to experience, everything that everyone's experienced in order to justly rule or whatever, So how can you become omnipotent if you haven't seen and known everything? It's interesting. I don't like it because, again, done some things. I love me and I hate me.
Yeah. So the issue I have with reincarnation is at this point right now where I am, this is the best life I've ever lived because it's the one I can remember.
I was gonna say it's the only one you've ever known.
Exactly, and I like it a lot, and I don't want to like lose a part of it. Another issue I have with there being like a heaven and hell thing. So, Brennan kind of brought it up earlier. I am a United States Marine, right?
He just said military. Now you're doxing yourself.
Yeah. Well, okay. One of the times I served in the military was as a United States Marine. Doxing myself even more. Anyway, do you want my LinkedIn account? Anyhow, I don't want to call it mythology but like in American folklore and like in Christianity and stuff, right? There's the pearly gates of heaven, right? Guess what they're guarded by? United States Marines. I don't want to stand post forever in eternity. I don't. I don't. They always say that like St. Peter, greets you at the gates of heaven flanked by 2 Marines. And it's always like, ugh. Why do I have Why do I have to, guard the streets of heaven? But so that's like it'd be great to have like a heaven and an afterlife and everything, but just don't make me stand post. I've done my time. I'm good.
Yeah,
See, that's where
you
you're
go.
mistaken, Timmy. Is there's an afterlife, Paris Island, where if you
No.
were going to hell, you get the choice to go to that, and then you become a Marine instead of going to hell.
I'll
So
go to
then you're an
hell.
afterlife
I'm
Marine.
good.
No, I'm not saying you're going to hell. I'm just saying
That
people
existence
who are
would be
going,
hell.
people
Yeah, I'd
who
rather
are
go
going
to
to hell have the choice to become a Marine in
Yeah,
the
I'd rather go to hell.
afterlife.
Oh, yeah, thanks.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, none of us know. Nothing matters. That's why we're here. That's why we're having this conversation. Are there any other theories you all subscribe to, or any like I don't know, like also with reincarnation? That I think I've always found like the Hindu form, like with karma of reincarnation, very interesting. That's like a whole thing to dive into. But I mean, I
Yeah.
think everyone gets the gist of that, like how good you are in this life, you get,
Affects what
Yes.
you are in the next life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly about that, but it's almost the thing of Molly Mock in Mighty Nine of just like leave a place better than what you
How you
found it,
Yeah.
or at least the same.
Yeah.
Because me personally, if I'm entering a place, it's already going down. So I got to go bring that back up.
Now this just popped into my head, and I'm sorry, but I want to talk. If we've seen the Pixar movie Coco,
I have not.
I
Okay.
have not seen Coco. No.
Damn it. Okay, so the idea of it is
We're going to watch Coco on this
Watch
podcast.
party. No, but like the idea that it brings up with like death and the afterlife is as long as someone remembers you, you're immortal.
I mean, I guess that's not just a Coco thing. That is like the traditional that's like
Muertos. Yes.
yeah, like that's
but
why
I'm
they
saying
have
the
the-
movie's about that. That's why I was trying to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I always butcher that. De los Muertos.
Dia de los Muertos.
There de los Muertos.
Close.
That
Please
one.
don't unsubscribe from me, Mexican bros. All the Mexican bros watching, please, I speak Spanish, just not very well, or at all. Anyway, but yeah, I mean that's like I find that interesting, and that's something that I think I've expressed that to you people before. That's what I'm actually afraid of being forgotten.
I mean, that's kind of why like people like you. It's like I think that's also like a driving factor. Like obviously, like there's a whole like evolution thing of like why people have kids because like the evolution claim is like that's because obviously you want to pass on your own genes. Like that's like the biggest part. But it's like
Yeah.
I feel like there is like that is a big component to why people have kids. Is like I know when I'm gone there will be someone, and that's why people want like grandkids and to see their great grandkids. It's like because there will be generations that will know my name and know who I am. If that makes sense.
What about for those of us who aren't going to have kids? What do we do? We have to
you
make our
tr-
name.
Damn, that's crazy.
Well, yeah, you try and make your name.
Yeah. Well,
In
I
other
didn't mean like I wasn't roping you guys into saying us. I'm speaking for myself. Really, I don't plan on
Yeah.
having children.
I mean, it's just one of those things of like you
I
do it
fucking
in
hate
other
kids.
ways. You do it in other ways, like you try and like immortalize yourself, I guess, in another way. In terms of like, you try and make yourself famous, or like it could just be a thing of like you try and have like a lot of really good friends and a lot of impact on like multiple people's lives, so that even if you don't have kids of your own, those people will remember you. And like let's say like Sal has a kid in 2 years. Sal, you're on the clock.
Huh?
Timmy, you're probably gonna be like a big part of this kid's life. And
I gotta
so,
go to Tinder
Why?
right now.
Well, I'm just saying because
I don't want to be a part of that kid. Fuck that kid. I don't like children.
I know. I'm just saying. Chances are you will have some interaction with said kid,
I
whether
will
you
do
like it or
everything in
not.
my power to avoid that.
Again, whether you like it or not, you'll probably at least have one interaction with this kid. This hypothetical kid, Sal, you're not actually on the clock.
What do you name
Okay.
him, Sal?
Timmy.
You naming him Timmy? Oh no.
And that's how you'll be remembered.
There you go. But it's one of those things of like, it's almost like you go about it in a different way. It's not like the typical way, but like you go about it in terms of like, you have very good friends and you probably try and make other impacts instead of, the traditional have a kid and then they just remember you because like, hey, that's my dad.
Technically, I already have a son. His name is DJ.
That is true.
Technically, I already have a son as well. His name's Sal.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Have Amelia.
Which is very odd because I'm older than you.
Do you think that animals,
I'm pretty good.
like pets, go to the afterlife?
You
can see them again?
I think
hope so because I miss Louis on the daily.
Yeah,
I hope so too.
We've had and it's like, I don't know.
My guy.
There is like because I grew up with like a lot of dogs and it's like they all were so different and like had their own personality and were such like their own dog that I can't just be like, oh yeah, dogs are just dogs, like I have to feel like there is some sort of like they also have their own sort of soul or being that like if there is an afterlife they would get to partake in that as well.
Bro, I imagine there's like a koi pond with all my beta fish in it that I had. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and like a big aviary, or like with my birds that I had growing up. Like Pablo's gonna live longer than me, so I don't know. I might be in a cage in his afterlife because Pablo is like the ultimate being.
Are you saying my 2 goldfish I got from the state fair named Batman and Robin are waiting for me?
What goldfish named Mambo number 5?
I was too young to be really kind to him. I guess they became more my mom's fish. She basically like I took care of him for like a week and then kind of got bored as like, I think it was like 4 or 5.
Yeah.
And then my mom kind of got like she got a really nice big tank and moved him to the kitchen and she would feed him every morning and like one of them actually used to play catch with her, which was really funny.
That is
funny. I think it was Batman. Like he would pick up the little rocks off the bottom of his tank and shoot them out at her and she would toss it back in and he would go and grab it.
He would also throw Robin.
Robin died really young. We don't know what happened to Robin.
Vengeance.
Any points for Robin?
No points for Robin.
That's rough.
No. Yeah. Sorry. Well, does anyone have anything else we want to bring up, or we can have closing arguments? Not closing arguments, closing statements.
I was going to say, can we just pick any random argument? Like, can I just get mad at Sal for not?
Nothing matters. Absolutely. Go ahead, Brennan. Give us your argument.
Sal, you smell bad.
Excuse me.
Points for Stinky.
He gets points for being stinky?
No. You get points for calling him Stinky.
Oh, yeah, Sal, you're stinky.
I would like to say that I am a little bit more sad today and a little bit upset. Not really upset, more sad that you forgot your earpiece.
Oh, so we couldn't talk for while I was at work?
Because I've talked to you like every day for the past 8-10 years.
Technically, we did talk still.
For a little bit, but I was just, hey. It's a timing thing because it's almost like at the same time every day.
Yeah,
like it's 11:30 is I call Brennan time.
Yeah, like it's I can usually expect it anywhere from like sometimes like there's a couple days where you'll shoot it really early because like I'll still be in the building and I get a call for you and I'm like, hold on, you like give me a second.
Yeah.
Sal and I talk for sometimes it's a lot shorter, like if you're busy because usually like I'm free to talk while I'm at work.
Yeah.
Like obviously there's moments where like I have to interact with people where it's like, I just gotta like we just have to stop talking for a second. But it's like some days, Timmy, I guess like I guess we're explaining this to you and the potential 3 people listening to this. There are some days where Sal and I will just talk for like 4 or 5 hours about just like anything, Save
it for the podcast.
No.
So I will tell you the points right now. Whoever wins has the most points has to come up with the next topic for the next episode.
Oh, is that how we're doing it? Like whoever wins becomes the next. That's actually funny. I like that.
Because I can't just carry this all the time. All right, so
that's too much creative output.
All right, Brennan got points for pulling things out of his ass.
Hell yeah.
Being a first timer. For doxing me. For that's my dad and Stinky. Sal got a point for pushing a kid down the stairs, and then he lost a point for being the one pushed down the stairs.
Okay.
He got a point for New Game Plus. You're on life 3. You got a point for life 3. You got a point for things happen. You got a point for being the first timer also, which is contradicts the life 3 thing. So, and you got a point for Jim Carrey. So that
By my tally, I'm up by 1.
that final score leaves us with a tie of 5-5. So we need a tiebreaker. So for the tiebreaker, I am going to have each of you convince me that. Oh, what should I do? What should I have you convince me?
Sell you this pin.
Sell me this pen. Write your name down. I don't have a pen. Boom. Okay.
See,
anyway,
I win because I'm holding a pen right now.
Well, I have a pen. How do you think I wrote all this stuff down?
That pen's gonna run out of ink, and you're gonna want another pen.
Ooh.
Brian gets points for pen. No, just kidding.
Was there 15 of them?
I was gonna say
Nice, bro. All right. So I want
Okay.
Sal to convince me, and I want Brennan to convince me that something. I'm lost here.
This is
Nice.
I feel like a
I wasn't prepared for
tiebreaker
a
should.
tiebreaker.
All right.
Yeah.
Whoever wins is whoever comes up with a good tiebreaker for future.
That's a great idea. All right. So whoever can convince me the best way to do tiebreakers for the future gets the point. All right, Sal, starting with you. You have 35 seconds
Okay.
to prepare what you want to say.
I have 35 seconds to prepare what I want to say.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, your time's up. Go ahead and tell me.
Damn.
Okay. For tiebreakers, I would say the most interesting fact or conversation that you've had in the past week.
Okay. Brennan, what would you think we should do for tiebreakers?
Honestly, I think that's cool. I say you go with the most interesting fact, conversation, or the most interesting like story. Like, because obviously you can have interesting things happen without conversation. I kind of like that.
I was going to say coin toss, but okay. So
I also thought coin toss, but Sal had an actual good idea.
I was gonna say coin toss, and I was gonna say rock paper scissors, and I was gonna that's not good
speed
enough.
Duel. You have to have a speed duel.
We have to. That's how you get the YouTube portion of this is the speed duel at the end. If there's a tiebreaker.
All right. No, but so I pick, or you tell me the most interesting conversation you had.
I think it's just interesting fact.
Okay.
A conversation you had, or something like an interesting story, like or like something that like whoever's trying to win said tiebreaker deems interesting that they know or that happened to them this week.
Okay, Brennan, start with yours.
Oh damn! Wait, I thought. Well, hold on. This week's tiebreaker was just it was just who came up with the idea.
Nope. You got the idea. Sal. Now execute on it. We're field testing it right now.
Can I get a field manual?
No.
Oh.
You can have 35 seconds though to prepare.
Is it what the 35-second Sal got, or is it an
it's
actual 35?
You just wasted it. All right.
Beans. You know what? There was a very I guess it wasn't even interesting. It was just more insulting, but I thought it was kind of funny after the fact of we're at because Zay and I went to New York.
Now you're yourself.
New York State. I want to be clear.
True, we did not go to New York City. We went to the state of New York.
Yes. Okay, go on. I just don't want people who like stumble upon this to think that that
you were getting a bacon, egg, and cheese from Slater's.
But I just thought it was completely hysterical because we went to this Chick-fil-A, and you know how they have like the speakers, but they have like someone in line who
went to the Henrietta Chick-fil-A?
I don't know if it was Henrietta. I don't know where we were.
Upstate New York.
We were lost. I don't know where it was. It was Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
We go through, we place an order, and there's this girl. She's doing the payments, right? And she's just kind of going down the line of cars. And she gets like right up to where we are, and I'm like, I basically have the window down. I'm getting ready, like, almost like preparing, like, hey, I'm going to talk to her. And she just walks away. Like, she looked at me and just left. And I was like, okay, cool. And she comes back out, but she, like, doesn't, like, make eye contact with me. So I'm like, am I just supposed to drive past her? Like, am I going to pay somewhere else? And I go to drive past her and she just like walks up to the car as it's moving. And so I like stopped. And it was the weirdest thing of like, do you know how to interact with people? Or
she's a first timer.
She's a first timer. So I guess not interesting, just funny, I guess was that like, it was just like a very odd of like, it's one of those moments where you sit there and go like, am I the idiot here? Did I do something wrong? Or like, did I miss something?
Well,
anyways, that was my on the spot.
That should not be hard to beat. Go ahead.
No, it was completely terrible.
So my interesting thing is something that my dad sent me. It was I love you. No,
first time for everything, huh?
Never.
So
I could see him telling me that, but you no.
Yeah, you're right. So my dad sent me this thing of it's a medical thing because I'm doxing myself. I'm going to go and be a PT. There's this relatively new. He thought it was like just come out, but it came out like a couple years ago.
Okay.
A new like low dose imaging of X-rays.
Okay.
That there's a fluoroscope that goes in where there's a camera and a light that goes like throughout the body, and you could see like the skeleton and everything like you would in an X-ray in real time. So you could see the skeleton moving. They were like lift their head and go down. They would like move their shoulder, and you could see the joints functioning in real time. And I thought that was super cool because usually you don't get that kind of accuracy.
That's cool.
I'm currently learning like different goniometry things of like testing different angles, and it's like, okay, but with that, I could exactly see what your bones are doing in the specific motion.
Huh.
So I could better treat my patients.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I just thought that was really neat.
And points to Chick-fil-A girl because that is disgusting and creepy, and I hate it. So Brendan, congratulations.
Yeah.
So congratulations, Brendan.
All right.
Do you have any words of wisdom to pass on to us with your big brain move of winning the episode today about the afterlife?
In the words of Albus Dumbledore, fibbit, nitwit, and humbug. Words of wisdom are random words this week.
Outstanding. All right, boys. Thank you so much for joining us today on the Nothing Matters podcast. And just remember, nothing matters. Thank you guys so much for tuning into our podcast. Be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe.
Or don't. We don't really care. Nothing matters.